Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jan Leary, and I just wanted to welcome you to the Truth Zone. And for our first guest, we have a man, his name is Buddy Bishop. And Buddy goes way back with the church, but he has absolutely an amazing testimony. Testimony that once you hear it, I promise you, it will never leave your head again. It is so incredible. So, Buddy, I just wanted to ask you to start off, how long has it been since you've been serving Jesus, and what exactly were the circumstances surrounding that?
Well, I've been saved about 26 years. My circumstances were that I died. I was beat to death and hung by my neck. And when I died, I didn't go to heaven. I want to tell you, hell's real. And if there's a hell, there has to be a heaven. And I'm so thankful to God for giving me a second chance.
That is amazing. I mean, to all you people out there that may not believe in God, you may say, you know, there is no such thing as hell. You're agnostic. You know, this is really powerful. This was not a dream. He was clinically dead. And that's something really to be said. So, Buddy, what exactly, happened after that? What did you do, to get your life in order?
Well, Jan, it was 3 years later before I could speak a sentence. And one of the first questions I asked was that I started asking everybody, how do you get to heaven? And so I must have asked probably 5,000 people. A lot of people said, be good, do this, do that. And I finally asked the right man, and what he told me was, he says, you have a Bible? And I said, no. He said, well, can you get one? I said, yeah, I can get one. So he said, well, get that Bible and bring it back. And so I did that. And so I bring him back the Bible, and he tells me to open it up to John. And I get to John, he says, now open up to John 3:3. So he says, now read that. And it's a story about a guy named Nicodemus. And this guy named Nicodemus goes to Jesus in the middle of the night, and he says to Jesus, Jesus, I know you're from God. Tell me how to get to heaven. And what Jesus tells Nicodemus is, he tells him, verily, verily, I say unto you, Nicodemus, unless a man is born again, he will not see the kingdom of God. It also says you must confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that he died for you. So I told the gentleman, I said, geez, I'd really like to do that. So he led me in a little prayer, and what the prayer was is that I accepted Jesus Christ and I repented of my sin. And when I said that little prayer, God touched me like I've never been touched before. It was like I stuck my finger in an electrical outlet. It was like a tingling sensation from the tip of my finger shot down my arm into my heart. And I'm so thankful that I got a second chance, because I really wasn't a nice guy when that happened, but when I invited Jesus Christ into my life, he changed me from the inside out and gave me a much better life than I had in my previous life. When I invited Christ into my life, he changed me from the inside out. He gave me a new heart and a new mind. And I'm so thankful for that second chance. And I thank God every day for what he's done in my life.
You know, Buddy, that is so incredible. I can just imagine, when you are on the street, I know you street preach, and I know you talk to people all the time. I can't imagine how that hits somebody's brain. I mean, you went to a devil's hell. You cried out to Christ. He saved you, gave you a whole new life. I just can't even believe that is so amazing. shows the depth of love that really Jesus Christ has for us. So tell us, buddy, like, what has he done like since in your life? I noticed you have an awesome wife, so tell us about like some of the blessings of serving Christ that you've been with.
Well, Jen, God has really blessed me financially, spiritually, and I can't believe all that God has done for me, because he has really, really blessed my life, and I'm so thankful for the second chance that he gave me. And I have a family, I have a wife, and I'm so thankful to God for giving me that second chance, because I'd be burning in hell today if I hadn't got that second chance. And I so thank God.
So, buddy, what would you say to people that come up to you, you know, or people that you just talk to? What is the greatest thing that you could say that God has given you in your life?
Well, I so thank God for giving me that second chance, because I believe I went to hell, and God, I believe God gave me a glimpse of hell so that I would know that hell is real, and if hell is real, heaven has to be real. And I'm so thankful for what God has done in my life. I wasn't a very nice person when that happened to me, but when I invited Jesus Christ into my life, he changed me from the inside out. And I'm so thankful for God that loves me and helped me change to be a much better person today.
Buddy, I just want to thank you for your testimony, and I really thank God for it. It is awesome. God bless you and your wife. For our second guest, we have Kelly Moorhead here. And Kelly, why don't you start off by telling us, how long has it been really that you've been, had a relationship with Jesus Christ? And, what were the circumstances that were happening in your life?
January 7th, 1985, I gave my life to Christ. I'd been coming to the church for a couple of months. Before that, I knew that I needed to have a relationship with God. When I was a little kid, I went to church for religious things, and as a teenager, when I started getting myself involved in things I shouldn't have, I would go to church instead of going skiing with my family, and I could feel God's peace. So I knew deep down inside that God was real. And when I moved to Cape Cod, the lady that I rented a room from had a relationship with Christ, and she didn't push it on me. She didn't even talk to me about it very much, but I know that she prayed for me, and I know that just helped to make me desire to find that relationship with God.
Now, Kelly had an amazing circumstance happen to her while she was attending church that just absolutely, the hand of God was on her. Kelly, tell us a little bit, about your accident that happened on Route 6, I think it was.
Yeah, I was being a naughty girl. Not really. Instead of going to revival services, I was going off Cape to try on a gown to be in a friend's wedding. And somebody did an illegal U-turn on Route 6 just before the bridge. They have since planted trees there so that nobody can do that. I was in the passing lane behind a tractor trailer, passing a car, and rather than crashing into the back of the tractor trailer, I went into the medium strip, crossed it, and I hit another car head on. I broke my pelvis, my back, my ribs, my arm in 2 places, my jaw in 3, my cheekbone, and the back of my skull, the strongest bone in your body. I never understood when I was in the hospital. They kept saying, "Oh, I'm so glad that you can, that you can talk." It was. I never understood why they kept saying that I should be deaf and dumb. It just didn't make sense. And then many years later, the doctor told me it was because I fractured my basal skull. I shouldn't be able to walk. I went into menopause at age 23. I wasn't even married. I didn't have a boyfriend. But that year on Thanksgiving Day, I turned 24. And it was just a horrible day for me because I wasn't married. It didn't matter. I didn't have a boyfriend or any other relationship with a man, just that I wasn't married. And then, God, it's just so amazing. I never, ever once felt like I wasn't going to be okay. I know that I was told over and over again I shouldn't be alive, I shouldn't be able to walk, I shouldn't be able to talk. But I never, ever once doubted that I wouldn't be all right and that I wouldn't be able to walk and talk. There's a little girl in the hospital when we were learning how to walk together. And so one day we had a race down the hall, a race that took a good 5 minutes to go 10 feet. God is just so wonderful. You can feel His presence.
Well, I remember that I had just come into Victory Chapel at that time, and they had mentioned Kelly, they put her up for prayer. I had no idea who she was. I remember Pastor Stevens at the time was so disturbed. He was like really, wondering what the outcome of this was going to be. It was a devastating, you heard her explain what happened to her. It is totally a miracle of God that happened to Kelly, but she had another miracle that happened to her that just totally blows me away about her children. And I, am just a little amazed by her life. You could really see the hand of God moving in it. And so, Kelly, why don't you just tell us about the miracle of God blessing you with children?
Well, I told you before that I went into menopause at age 23. I got married 5 years after my accident, I think. Yes, 5 years after. And I knew the issues of getting pregnant would be hard, but I did get pregnant. I have a 17-year-old son now. But when I got pregnant with him, a girlfriend came up to me and she said, "Kelly, I had a vision. You had triplets, 2 girls and a boy." Well, the next time I got pregnant, I knew I was pregnant before the pregnancy test. And then once I had the pregnancy test, I kept saying, she's wrong. She's got to be wrong. It's going to be just twin girls. Well, I knew deep down inside that she wasn't wrong, and it was triplets, 2 girls and a boy. One of the best parts about this is that I had to use fertility drugs to get pregnant. But each time I got pregnant, the first try, you hear all these horrible stories of people trying for years and years and shelling out money galore. But, God was wonderful. He knew that this was a huge desire in my heart, and He gave it to me.
And that whole story just blows me away because, technically speaking, that would have been a mission impossible for her to even get pregnant. And yet the hand of God breaks through like that. It just, it just blows me away. So, Kelly, tell us, what are the things in your life that you could say to the audience that it was well worth it serving Jesus Christ?
Having God's peace is just, it's incredible. There's no way of describing it. My oldest son was hospitalized for 3 weeks. It's been 3 times now with an autoimmune problem. It's very serious. But I never once doubted that everything wasn't going to come out all right because I could feel God's presence. It's a tangible thing.
Wow, Kelly, you know what? I have to say, every time I hear your testimony, it just absolutely blows me away. Just you see God moving in a different dimension for you is just amazing to me. And I really thank God I got to know you. And I want to thank you, Kelly, for coming and sharing your testimony with us on the Truth Zone. Thank you. And for our last guest today, we have Dan Dupree. And Dan, I know you've been saved for quite a while, but I'd just like you to tell us, how many years it was and really what was happening in your life at the time you gave yourself to Christ.
Well, Jan, I was 26 when I got saved. I'm 52 years old now. So half my life I've been serving God, and that's, a tremendous testimony for longevity for a lot of people. We just heard a sermon by the man who started this church this morning, Paul Stevens, and he had mentioned that most people serve God maybe 2.5 years, and only 2% of people serve God after 10 years are still serving God. And so a lot of people, they call them floating kidneys, move around from church to church. Originally, the seed that got planted in my heart was when I was in college in 1982. Somebody invited me out to a Billy Graham crusade up in Burlington, Vermont. I went to Norwich University, and I was in my senior year. And I was actually in the overflow room because he attracts millions of people wherever he goes. And this particular event had 10,000 people, and I was in the overflow room. And so that seed was planted. I didn't respond to when he called people down to, which he does at every service he does, to the altar call. I didn't respond at that time, but seeds were planted. I also went out to a full gospel businessmen's convention up in Montpelier, which is the state capital of Vermont, which is close to my college, and heard a testimony of a reformed convict that told how God transformed him just out of a page of a Bible that was torn out and thrown, that he had torn out of a Bible in anger, and read it, and God smote his heart. And I heard his testimony. In that time, I did respond, but it was 3 or 4 years because I was career-minded. I was just getting ready to graduate college. It was 3 years after that I was out on Main Street at an event, as you said, things that drew me to an event called the Lighting of the Green. And my brother-in-law worked at Puritans at the time. The Lighting of the Green is an event that we have the first Friday night of December. And the church, Victory Chapel, happened to be out there. There was a choir across the street at the Asa Burst House at the time, which was right next to the post office. I don't know what it's called now. It's a Brazilian restaurant. And also next to Puritans was Hanlon's Shoes, and I was in a running club because I was into marathons and triathlons. And so I was at these two stores right next to each other at these open house events while they were doing the Lighting of the Green, which the church used as an outreach event to draw people out, because they were always out street preaching, and mostly we do it in the summer, as you interviewed Buddy and other people about street preaching. We do these events in the summer now, but they did it in the winter, and thank God that the church, the Victory Chapel, was out there because a guy was witnessing to me who happened to be in the same trade I was in painting. I was currently unemployed at that time, wandering in my life. Things had gone downhill since I graduated college. I washed out of flight school in the Air Force, was going to different jobs in government-related fields because I was a government major. And God drew me that night, because he has a plan to draw everybody to him and a purpose and a time, that night to Main Street, where they were street preaching, witnessing. I saw the choir across the street. The pastor was playing a guitar, and the choir was singing. I heard the song Amazing Grace, which drew me back to that time when I was at the Billy Graham event and some events that were, I was getting involved in Bible study, just dabbling in Christianity, but never fully sunk in because of my career-minded path. But when hindrances and obstacles drew me to 3 years later, in December 7th of 1986, when I gave my life to Christ, that was the turning event. I came out at an invitation of a guy that witnessed to me that Friday night into a Sunday morning service, and the pastor pulled an altar call, and I responded. I got water baptized soon after that, and so that was the foundation of my salvation in this church.
Wow, that's incredible, Dan. It just shows you when God's got your number, He knows how to follow up on you. That's amazing. I know the man, too, that witnessed to you. He's amazing. He's serving God in a big way now. He's a pastor, Peter Lane. He's quite an amazing guy. So, Dan, tell us, now that you've been serving the Lord for a while, what has He done for you? What were the changes that you noticed that happened to you, both you, your marriage, your children? You have a wonderful family. Tell us about that.
Right after I got saved, I was mentored by a man who went to pastor up in Portland, Maine. And he worked with a builder, and we painted, and I learned, I had already had my painting traits, but you always learn and can be mentored by somebody else. And it was soon after he left, I took over working for the builder, and that was the beginning of me starting my own business, and that was in 1987. So it's been just over 25 years. I started my own painting business. I went to town halls, looked up building permits to get jobs, prospects, to go out and pound the pavement, so to speak, to meet builders. So I was kind of outgoing to meet people and kind of knocking on doors. And I also learned some faux finish painting and expanded my trade knowledge, got involved in trade, PDCA, which is Paint and Decoration Corporation of America, and a business networking group that have international as well as local chapters, and networked my business through that. And in 1990, I was dating my wife. Actually, we went on an outreach to Jamaica, and we were dating at the time and got engaged shortly after that in 1990. In April of 1990, we got married, and now I have 4 children. And the amazing thing about that, I always tell people, is I didn't have to test drive, my wife, so to speak, to, because my experience in the world was that I never had relationships that lasted longer than 3 or 6 months, meeting girls at nightclubs, and, this thing, it was fornication, that they call it, that fornication, that's sin, sex outside of marriage. And thank God that when I met my wife, I didn't even actually kiss her until my wedding day, and God blessed that, because I have 4 children now. 3 of them are serving God. One's in the military now. He just got into the Marine Corps, got out of boot camp recently. 2 of my sons are in a band, a teen band, and my daughter is in the printing ministry, and she's very creative in arts and crafts, and they're all on a righteous path. Thank God for what He sets in order through raising your children up in the heritage of the Lord. And I just want to give God the glory for all He's done for faithfulness over the years.
Well, Dan, I'm sure there's somebody out there that might want to know how to know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. Why don't you tell them all about it?
Well, I always tell people, when I witness, I give a simple testimony, which I just shared with you. But the simplest way, it says, if any man's in Christ, he's a new creature. The old man's passed away, and all things become new. You've heard testimonies like Buddy and Kelly of how their lives were before they came to know Christ and how they were changed after. It says, if you confess with your lips and believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord, it said you shall be saved. Because with the mouth one confesses unto salvation, with the lips or with the heart one believes that confession. So if you would like to know Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, it's a simple sinner's prayer by asking Jesus to come into your heart. If you say, God forgive me, I'm a sinner, I know you died on the cross for my sins, and you rose from the dead, because with the resurrection, if we believe that Christ has died, Christ has risen, and Christ has come again, as I believed growing up in religion, it says when we confess that with our lips and believe in our heart, it said we will be saved. And if you say that prayer and admit you're a sinner, because it says we've all sinned, we've all fall short of God's glory. It's by grace we're saved through faith. It's a gift of God, not any work that we can do. That we can have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and it's as simple as that. It's not a bunch of religious prayers. It's a simple prayer, and if you mean it in your heart, Jesus Christ will save you, and you'll know that and have that assurance like I did when I confessed 26 years ago.
Well, Dan, I want to thank you so much for your testimony. If you ever need a good painter, look him up. He's really good, Dan Dupree. He did a faux finish in one of our, in our house. One of the rooms came out beautiful. But anyway, I want to thank you all for tuning into the Truth Zone, and I hope you come join us next week.